Yeah, so I am here to share with you guys a little bit about my ayahuasca journey. And I might do multiple videos of myself from different states of consciousness, processing, the week I had because the medicine is supposed to continue to work on you for at least 7 days. Um, I don't want to kind of throw on my expectations on what I hope to happen throughout the week. But when it comes to ayahuasca, a lot of people have some bias towards it. A lot of people have a fear of the word itself. Just me saying that name kind of triggers that fear in myself, and I start to like, you can notice like if I say fear, it's not the word fear. It's the word ayahuasca. Like it brings on the fear in people of like, oh, I'm not ready. And I heard it's really bad. Some people trip and they face the darkest demons and everything. And I mean, there's a lot going on in my head. I kind of spend all day switching in between trying to be present, hearing myself, getting those insights that I wouldn't even be able sometimes to open up and express because there was still a lot of the processing the experience and what I had during the experience. Um, I always recommend people to go to the session with an open heart, detach from outcomes, yet with strong intentions. And you need to understand first the difference between, let me get comfortable here. My back is kind of like slouching, and I'm like that. As a yogi, I gotta present myself as a yogi. Yeah, so a lot of people come with strong intentions and attachments to those intentions, like to the outcome. So the truth is, when you have a desire, that desire has to be so strong at a level that you really want that thing from your heart. But when the mind clings to it, then it becomes an attachment. So that's the basic difference of, to me, holding on to an intention, having that strong intention slash desire. And yeah, those two are different things. I'm not here to kind of bridge philosophically in these topics because um, this is about ayahuasca. This is about the journey I just went on yesterday. I hadn't gone on a trip in a year and a half. And the last time I had the experience, it wasn't fully, it was very traumatic. So I thought I was owning myself a full experience, a full retreat experience to really see what that is. And I'm gonna open up with you guys on how I felt. I'm not gonna say the name of the place, but I just wanna bring that on to people who might be considering going on the experience. Yeah. So now that we're clear about intentions and desires and that you want to come up with an open heart and find a way to detach your mind from those outcomes. So I can give you an example. To me, when I have a desire of something and I obsess thinking about it, and I'm just like, all about this thing and closing doors, closing opportunities that don't resonate to that particular desire. Sometimes I might be preventing myself from actually allowing something to unfold that wouldn't come specifically from something right tied into the desire, but related to the desire. So like you, for example, meet someone who is in the medical business and you just focus about music, and you might want to like close that door of like connection of like that relationship with that person because you think that person is not going to help you in the music business, but you never know. Maybe that person happens to know exactly who you need to help you to get ahead in the industry. That person might know a producer or might know a co-writer, or might know someone who needs a songwriter, depending on what your focus on of what your focus is, like what exactly you are leaning towards in the music business. And I'm sorry that like this channel might not sound perfect because I'm still a little bit under the medicine, and yet I wanted to share this with you. I don't have anybody else right now to uh have this kind of experience, but you guys who have been following my content, who have been curious about self-awareness and want to find self-realization in this life. So this is why we're here together. But yeah, so let's start from the beginning. I had a lot of resistance on showing up to the experience alone. My entire week was like fighting against the fears and the expectations and the good expectations and the negative and the bad expectations I had from from ayahuasca alone. I was gonna postpone it, and I was just like, maybe I should just forget about it because this is not the right place to do it. I don't have the right friends. And I've been waiting for the right community to join on an ayahuasca ceremony, but I couldn't find that community like of people that I actually met, people who I would feel safe around. And I only had this option, of this ceremony that would happen yesterday, which I did. And the entire week was like this heavy pressure on my shoulder on like, I shouldn't do it. I'm just gonna forget it. And I would just fight that thought over and I would try to focus on something else, but that didn't work out. Because any doubt you have that stays in your mind that you don't take action upon can come against you. And this is exactly what happened. So I got in contact with the team of the company, the organizers of the ceremony. They even said, just give us a call, let's have a video call. And I wasn't even confident enough to reach out to them because I was like, no, if I do that, they're gonna force me to do it. And I wasn't like clinging on that positive thought of like, no, maybe what if I like them? What if I feel safe around them? What if they are not um forceful or they're actually more about helping? Because this is what you want to find. You want to find the right community of ayahuasca um organizers or the shaman who is very light and loving and kind, who is just gonna be there to be of service to you and is not trying to get anything from you. And the biggest thing for me is to believe there are people like that in this world after meeting many people who are just selfish, who are just about, if you have what I want, I'll give you what you need. And it took me a while to realize that I was that kind of person also. And in order to stop attracting people who just wanted to get something out of me, I needed to not longer be that person. So guess what? Here's that person now, who's in that on that path of like, well, I'm just gonna try to be that person who gives freely without expecting something back. But while it's still fresh in my mind, let me just go over basically what happened. I decided to go on that ceremony 6 hours before the start time. So that was also a way of like, well, I'm just gonna find out if I go or not in the moment. Like this is the deal I have with my mind. Like we never know of anything. I don't know of anything. I only know in the moment. If the energy is there, meaning if the courage is there, if the enthusiasm is there, if the resources needed to fulfill that particular mission is available, I'm just gonna do it. And if I don't do it, what would I do it anyway? So that was like what I also had in my mind. Like I'm gonna stay home and I'm gonna be regretting of missing that opportunity. And this is what would have happened if I hadn't made it. So I'm so glad that I get to be here now with you guys and share that I did it. So the way to the place, the Kamak commute to the place was a little bit scary, was a little bit unsafe since I'm in a city in Brazil right now where there's a lot of crime, there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of very um low income communities and like favelas and ghetto areas. So I kind of like placed myself at a dark spot of commuting halfway to kind of like a ghetto area, and from there taking an Uber to the city where the ceremony took place because I was trying to save money on Uber. And that was fine, but at the same time I was like, well, maybe I could have just paid like fuck $40 dollars to just save myself the hassle of really spending time on a bus with people from all kinds of places, like coming after work and making myself feel like so strange in on a bus, right? Because I have this high sensitivity personality, and they call like HSP, and this is psychological. So I'm coming from that place of mind right now to share this with you. And I will be honest to you guys, it's not easy to hold this HSP thing. It's kind of crazy. Like I can be at a place and then I can feel someone's energy towards me or something, and I can just feel unsafe. All of a sudden, I get this moment of like, I need to move out of here and sit somewhere else. And this has happened also in school many times. I would kind of sit on a place, and the field, the magnetic field was not in harmony with mine. So I had to meet my own kind of like frequency somewhere else. And I'm not talking just about like if I'm at a really high frequency and I'm sitting next to someone who is at a very low frequency, but the opposite is also true. If I'm at a really low frequency and I see someone next to someone who is in a really high frequency, it's just like there's a mismatch, and I always keep aligning myself towards that situation instead of sometimes just trust that the energy will align itself. Because sometimes you don't want to just align yourself to a low frequency, right? And how do you know when you are actually at a low and you are repressing a high versus the other? But this is just, one of the things I experienced. And this kind of happened also during the experience, which I'm going to get there. But yeah, so arriving at the place was um, a trip already because I was already kind of sensing things at a stronger level because it was the moment you say yes to the ceremony and you're drawing a group, there is a group energy, right, that is going on there. Here in Brazil, they call the Gregora, the Gregora of like meaning like the mastermind, like what happens with the members, with the entities. They are basically on the soul contract and are working together on this process. And essentially, you are working together with them. So the moment I say yes, I'm not just saying yes to be a patient, someone who wants to receive healing from ayahuasca, but also to give healing. Because I have both sides. I have sick and a healer in me. And we all have parts of ourselves that you feel that like you haven't healed yet, and parts of you that has fully healed that can be of service and assist others. So I felt like that moment that I said yes, I was already on that vibe, and I was just seeing things like whoa, and I was already getting those downloads and the conversations going on in different planes of consciousness and so forth. But when I arrived there, they kind of grounded me right on. And it was kind of cool, because I got to have a really nice conversation with the shaman who made me feel special. And I met somebody else who was for me like a guardian angel, like it was like someone sent by God, because she's also a therapist and she's really calm. She has this really um soothing presence that just made me feel like next to a sister. And I was just extremely like surprised because I didn't know who I was gonna meet there. I was like, what if they're only men? What if they're only dudes? And my sort of like way of defending myself from the situation was like, well, I'm just gonna leave if I don't feel safe in this in the place. My intention was to complete the ceremony. That's what I really wanted because I felt like I owe this to ayahuasca. I owe this to myself, and I want to be able to complete the full ceremony since the last time I had um, the experience, I had to leave before the ceremony ended. But it was a little weird too, because like cops arrived there. It was like my way of like trying to like get out of the place, and the shaman didn't really want to let me go, so it was like weird. But anyways, focusing on this experience here. So he made me feel safe, and we had some um common experiences. Like you will always find people who share common experiences as you. Everyone you attract has gone probably through things similar to you. And with the other girl who arrived in later, who joined our conversation, it was like this nice space because immediately she said, do you want to like, stay next to me? And I brought all my stuff. So you're supposed to bring like a mattress and some like blankets and your own water because it really feels like camping, but not like you have a tent. Maybe if I had a tent in the place and had my own space on a tent, I would feel even better because I would just be able to like sleep on and kind of be on my own zone. So I recommend you if you ever go to an open space in nature where they tell you to bring mattress, ask them if you can bring a tent camping for camping, or if they already provide that. So I had some physical symptoms that I was also helping to hoping to heal. And one of them was feeling this extreme sense of like heat in my body. And today I've been trying to like look at like, am I feeling this yet? Because the city where I am is quite hot. So it might be that I would just like feel my body extremely heated up because of the heat outside. But sometimes it was also the heat from my internal body, which comes from lower chakras, more specifically the root chakra, your survival self, that place in you that is always trying to fight and run, fight or freeze, and it's always about it that is driven by fear. So that fearful energy, that drives you is primarily in the root chakra, which can make you feel very hot a lot of the times when that chakra is overused. So I wanted to balance out my chakras and hoping that would be a nice balancing. And I was open also to the Mother Ayahuasca and what would happen. However, because I've done a lot of cleansing in the last few years and with meditations and everything, I feel like I have opened up so much in myself in terms of like, I know what keeps me up at night. And those thoughts alone, when I say your doubts can be an obstacle to the ceremony alone. Because the first thing the medicine would do would be try to clear out what's blocking that flow of wisdom, of intelligence, of pure love. And when I went to the ceremony, I hadn't like taken care of my doubts because I'm still figuring out some things in life and I don't have answers for. So I was hoping I would have answers for that during the ceremony, but maybe if I had come up with my own answers before that, the ceremony would be easier, which in a segment of my life, I had it quite clear So the medicine basically expanded from that. So the flow of energy, where attention goes, energy flows. Yeah. So when you are on that ceremony, when you're on the flow of energy, if your attention is going specifically like to something you want to manifest on or something you really want for your life, that experience, the visions you will have will kind of like be a match of that which has been already written in your heart. And this can be really powerful because you really tap in that energy and you really feel like this is possible and you can strengthen your confidence. That doesn't mean that thing will happen the next day, maybe, but the fact that your faith is restored the moment you are able to feel that experience for yourself. Because if you can feel it, yes, if you can imagine, if you can feel it, you can make it happen. But I'm not gonna tell you what that is, obviously. I keep my dreams and my visions for myself. But if you know me well, you probably know some of those things. And sorry that I keep repeating but, and, but. There's so much to it, but it started raining, and this was chaotic because we were all on an open field with grass, and then the rain starts going, and then people are like moving their stuff out to other places, and it was already tied in the space. So now, because of the rain, all the mattresses have to be really close to one another. So with my high sensitivity, the thing I wanted the least was to be too close to people, especially to people who I didn't know, because it's very easy for someone um who has HD or feels like sometimes they can't quite focus in only one thing to tap into somebody else's energy. So when in the beginning, when I was in my space next to the other girl, and I felt like quite safe next to her. I was in my own zone. I wasn't thinking of her. She wasn't thinking of me. So our energies were not clinging on one another. We were able to like flow freely, even though there was like a loving connection, like a really true, beautiful tie connecting us. But the moment that it started raining, like she moved to another place that I didn't feel comfortable. And then I told her I'm moving to another place. And then she went after me. She went after to the place where I was moving. She's like, it might rain here. So she went to another place. And I didn't want to also stay too close to her and close to other people. So my experience was not fully immersed in dreaming and surrendering completely to the medicine on the floor. So I had to kind of stay in control and stand up and move around and basically try to tune in as I was moving my body and while observing also what was happening to people. And I saw a lot of people vomiting. And for the first time, this was my first ayahuasca ceremony where I didn't vomit. I didn't purge at all. I had a little bit of diarrhea the next morning, but during the experience, I didn't. And that time also, I didn't take 3 doses, so I decided to take 1 dose and take a break in between the second dose. So this was tremendously helpful. And I can tell you that you can go on ayahuasca ceremony if you follow that what I'm telling you right now. You can take 1 dose, and instead of taking the second one immediately, you wait a little bit and then you take the third one when you feel ready to it. And for me, feeling ready to take the third one was um like I knew the ceremony would end around 8 a.m. So I was aiming towards taking that last dose around 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. That way I wouldn't be tied into the space and the energy of other people and everyone during that time. Because my biggest fear is like reaching a point during the ayahuasca experience where the force is like so heavy, and they use the word force meaning the flow of energy when your chakras are open and everything's just like boom 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 boom, because ultimately this is what's happening anyways. but you're not aware of it. So when you tap into it, you realize that God is always working on your behalf. But there's force and power. So there's always power and force working on your behalf. So when you access to force, you will feel that force, and that force feels fearful, it feels heavy, it feels congested. When you feel the power, that flowing flow of energy, you feel light, you feel love. So that was the first best moment of the experience to me was when I was fully like surrendered to love, and I started dancing, like feeling like a ballerine and doing like some beautiful movements. And I felt like I was seeing myself, but the other part of myself, my other half, that half of me that I've been searching for in people, that I have projected on in many different people, and I have fell in love with and hurting myself so many times because I've been always looking for that other half of me in somebody else. So that was the most beautiful thing ever, because I fell in tears, I cried, and I just wanted to hold that presence, which was just me dancing for ever. And I knew I was not gonna stay there for forever, that my attention would suddenly pull me back into, suffering. But I wanted to enjoy that peace, and I wanted that moment to last forever. So it was so beautiful, it was so special. And me and myself and I, this other half, I guess, like like there's the yin and yang, and I was like seeing either the yang was seeing the yin or the yin was seeing the yang, but that was the direct experience I had. And prior to arriving there, I had set the intention that I wanted to have a direct connection with God. And I wanted to be more clear about my path and things on what to do. And I wanted to, like I said earlier, get rid of the heat, the excessive amount of heat that which was resolved was through the alignment of chakras, basically, that it has kind of released the amount of heat of my body, even though right now it's hot, like I said, because the city I am at is hot, but I feel like that has been kind of smoothened. And I wanted to feel lighter. I wanted to retrieve my sense of like, I want to live life again from now. And I want to let go completely of my past. So during the experience, I had the opportunity to communicate with my ex, with this guy who I felt like had hurted me so many times, and who was like an enemy to me. And I was able to like pass a message over to him of love and tell him exactly why I didn't want to stay in that relationship, and why I thought it was good that the universe were moving us apart. And yeah, that the intention was also like to clear the energy of old axis. And again, that might have happened, and that might be still happening as the medicine is still healing my body. But I don't feel like I hold on to any resentment any longer of them. I just see them for who they are. And also I've become so aware and clear about why these relationships didn't work, and have understood that I was projecting their anima, and they were projecting my animas, which you can read more about this in Carl Jung psychology, and in how he talks about when we fall in love with all that half through somebody else. And I thought I always thought that only through a relationship with another person I will have that direct experience with the other part of myself. So now, after this experience, I feel like I can learn how to have this direct experience with God, and have those moments of wholeness without clinging to a romantic relationship, if that makes sense. Maybe I have to do a part two video because I've already thrown a lot. But yeah, there was a part where I was from around a circle of fire, and they started doing some cleansing in my body. And there was a moment where I felt comfortable when this girl was like holding her hand on my solar plexus. And I felt like she was trying to like, that intention wasn't positive. I didn't feel like a loving energy towards her. I felt like it was a more like, I want to take something from you. And almost like singing her demons. And yet I didn't have the courage to tell her, get out of here and try to get nasty with her because it would go worse. Like that was the place you did that you wanted to avoid getting into conflicts with people energetically because you knew that anything could go against you really quick, like instant manifestation, you know? So I just thanked her, but I also realized like I needed to move out of this space. But the therapists who were also assisting this fire experience I had, she asked me like, why do you fear so much? And I was like, I don't know. I'm afraid of so many things that I don't know yet, that I don't even know. But also wanted to tell her because fear is also my true nature. At the same way I'm driven by love, I'm also moved by fear, and it's just how I'm designed. I should have said that, but she was coming from, you know, a therapist perspective and like someone intellectually, when she knows everybody holds on to many fears. Yet I went with that intention of throwing in the fire all of that, the past relationships, my fears, some resentment towards family members, and allowing myself to set myself free. Basically, this is my new beginning. Like this ceremony is representing, and it's the turning point I needed for my life to change what I've been wanting to change for so long. So I hope you learned something from everything that I've shared about ayahuasca, about how magical your experience can be. I will be throwing on some other videos throughout the week about particular topics that I have like tapped in and learned from from all of this. But as of right now, I just want you to know that it's worthy, and that if I did it, you can do it too. Thank you.